Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys. Get a sip of my water, and give you guys a forearm shot. And let's talk about this. All right, it's something that I have come to a realization of, and a lot of it had to do with me just setting aside certain parts of my ego, setting aside this idea all the time, and it's stuff you guys have seen us discuss on the podcasts, of we do not have to put forward this bravado and this tough guy thing all the time, okay? We don't have to do that. You don't have to project on the internet all the time of being a Giga Chad or whatever it is that they want to show. It's not necessary, guys. It's not necessary. And it's okay to step back and say, even as a man, you know what? I want to look good. When we step back and we look at the fitness and lifting world historically, that was the case. People were strong, they were fit and healthy, and they looked good. Why did we need to deviate from that idea? Why did we need to deviate from that idea? I don't think that we do. And that is one reason, it's a major reason why I've stepped back and said, you know, I've done strength for a decade on this platform. For a decade. And then people would complain about, oh, you don't look good and all this. And it's like, okay. So now I'm going to work on looking good. Doesn't mean we abandon strength. It's to create balance. Because if I'm going to say that this is what we're going to do, or that this is a good idea, I need to live it. We need to lead by example. I think that's reasonable. If I am going to, as someone with an outreach who has an audience, put forward an ideal, I need to live that ideal. Authenticity. It's important. And I'm not saying that, when I say this, people misunderstand it. I'm not telling you that to look good, that you need to be contest shredded or look like a contest bodybuilder. That is not what I'm saying. Just like I'm not saying to be strong that you have to be at worlds at powerlifting, okay? It's not, you don't have to deadlift 700 pounds to be strong. You don't have to be 5% body fat and dehydrated to look good. Because in fact, we could argue those things might be in conflict with health. So what sort of standards are we setting? You know, well, here's what I would say. We go back and talk about that whole athletic aesthetics thing. How that was talked about a decade ago. We were talking about that on the tubes, right? Get strong, get good at your big barbell exercises, and then, you know, build your show muscles a little bit. I think that's perfectly reasonable. So what sort of standards? You know, what standards would we set? And I'm not saying you have to have these exact standards, but what is basic strength? Well, what did I say? Hell, even what was Lobliner saying years ago? He and I, even when we weren't enemies, or we did have back and forth, we both kind of said the same thing, and it was funny. We're two guys who didn't always get along. And we said the same thing. Historically, what was considered acceptable? Meaning, in our generation, what sort of lifts were you expected to lift at the gym, even if you were a bodybuilder, before the guys in kind of the inner circle would be like, it's okay for you to even use stuff. Like, they're like, dude, you haven't even earned the right to cash in your natty card. Unless you could bench 300, squat 400, deadlift 500. That was kind of the rule, and he was right. And I've said the same thing. Yeah, it was kind of, yeah. That was kind of the old school, for our old school, not what we called old school when we were younger, but the old school guys like us up in well into our 40s. That was baseline strength. Like, you hadn't even paid your dues till then. You hadn't paid your dues. So what would we say? Like, what should be goals for people to reach for? I mean, we could talk about that big 5 strength standard I had before, but we don't need that. Let's just make it simple. What will we define as you look decent, you look good, and you're strong? No. Let's call it 3-plate bench, 4-plate squat, 5-plate deadlift, and have visible abs. Have abs that you can see. You know what? Those aren't extreme goals. Those are reachable goals for people who say, you know what? I want to look good and I want to be strong. For a healthy man. Now, I'm about to be 47 and I can do all those things. I've exceeded those things by pretty large margins. I'm past 6 plates on the deadlift. You guys have seen me bench 3.5 plates with a 2-second pause. I've got visible abs. Now, I don't know where my max lifts are right now. I might need to test them later. But we could set proxies for those. All right. So someone says, I don't want to max out. I still want to be. Okay, well, let's just drop down a plate and do 10 reps. How's that? Okay. I think that's reasonable. Drop down to 2 plates on the bench, do 10 clean pause reps. 315 squats for 10, deadlift 405 for 10. And have visible abdominals. Okay, if you don't want to max out, all right, I think those are good. We could talk about some standards on pull-ups and chin-ups and things. We could do that. I'm not going to go there here. But it might be stuff that I discuss more and more. These are reasonable goals. All right? These are not unobtainable goals. These are not goals that should require any of you to blast a gram of testosterone a week. Okay? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that given enough work and consistency, those are obtainable drug-free. All those goals are obtainable for a guy with average genetics without taking anything. Given work and consistency. Now, people say, I've been training hard for 2 years and I can't do that. Well, no shit, you've been training for 2 years. Is there anything in life that you would expect to be particularly good at after 2 years? Hell, most of you guys aren't even going to get the degree you want in 2 years. Of course not. 5 years. 10 years. You put in some work for 5 to 10 years consistently, some good training, good diet, good nutrition. All that's obtainable. But I'm saying hit those lifts with visible abs. They don't need to be shredded. You need to be able to see them. Now, I'm going to work on getting mine shredded, but, this is obtainable. And I don't think these are bad ideals. Okay? I think these are reasonable, perfectly reasonable goals. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.